In this video, I will demonstrate how to conduct a chi-square test in SPSS. For this assignment, you can use a perceptions of police dataset to examine the relationship between exposure to police and social group. So you can select gender, race, ethnicity, LGBTQ, or any other demographic category that is in the data set. Alternatively, you can opt to use the World Nations dataset and examine the relationship between British colonialism anytime after 1918 and economic development. So I am now going to take you to the policing dataset. And we are going to conduct a chi-square test. So we go to Analyze, and then Descriptive Statistics, and then crosstabs. And then let me get rid of this. So I'm going to select, let's see, have you ever been, do you have, let's see, do you have, let's select followed. Have you ever been followed by the police? I'm going to put that in a column variable, and then let's try, let's see, race. I'm going to select the binary racial category. So that's just well, actually, no, I'm going to take the elaborated one here. And then I'm going to put that into the row column. And then let's go to statistics. We need the chi-square test. Continue. And then for cells, we are going to select row and column. And that's it. Continue. And let's get format. That's okay. And everything else is okay. And then we press OK. Now I am going to take you to the output. Okay. So here's the output. In the case processing summary, we see that there are 112 cases. Next, this is the chi-square test here. So as you can see, we have race on the side here. And then we have you ever been followed or watched by law enforcement? So we have so what are all these numbers here? Okay, so the first number here is the count. That's the frequency. So what this is saying is that of all respondents who were white, 2 have been followed or watched by law enforcement, and 41 have not. And below this is the row percentage. So out of all white respondents, 4.7% have been watched or followed by law enforcement, and 95.3% have not. This column percentage is referring to the whole column here. It's basically saying that of all those who say they have been followed or watched by law enforcement, 14.3% are white. And we go to the next, this column percentage, 57% are Latinx and 7.1% are Middle Eastern and 21.4% are multiracial. The problem with a column percent is that it doesn't give us a percentage that takes into account the uneven n sizes between groups. So we usually, in this case, we usually use the row percentage so that we can see the representation better. In this case, representation within race. So in the second row, in the second social group, Black and or African Americans, we see 0% have had the experience of being followed or watched by law enforcement, and all of them, five people, have not. And it's almost an even split. Sorry, not sure what happened here, but we have almost an even split here. And for Asian, no Asians have been watched or followed. For Middle Eastern, it's 1 in 13, and for multiracial, it's 3 in 16. So now the question is, are these differences statistically significant? So now we go down to the chi-square test, and we look on this first row for the Pearson chi-square. Our chi-square statistic is 22.342. Our DF value is 5, and our sig value is under 0.001. So we do have statistical significance. So now we run into a situation that we had with our ANOVA test, where we have statistical significance, but we have multiple relationships between categories. So how do we know where statistical significance lies? Well, unfortunately, in SPSS, there isn't a simple test like the one we employed with the ANOVA test. In fact, we would have to employ a multi-step process that I'm not requiring you all to do. So we are going to end our analysis at this point. Next, what I'm going to do is show you how to write up the results. So I'm starting out with a fresh Word document, a blank Word document, and I am going to repeat the question. Is there a relationship between exposure to police and social group? More specifically, is there a relationship? Is there an association between having been followed or exactly followed or watched by law, watched by police, and race, ethnicity? The alternative hypothesis is there is an association between having been followed or watched by police and race, ethnicity. Well, the alternative is there is no association between having been followed or watched by police and race, ethnicity. Then we want the statistical expression for this, which is just the written out form, so we'll leave it as such. And then we will state the alpha level. Alpha equals 0.05. And then I'm going to cut and paste my data. I'm pasting it as image files. So it's easier to deal with. It's massive. I can shrink it quite easily this way. Okay. And now we can write up the results. Oops, sorry, there's one more piece, the chi-square test. Okay. So say that the results are significant. There is a relationship between a statistically significant relationship between being followed or watched by police and social group. We accept the alternative hypothesis and reject the null hypothesis. And I'm gonna kind of elaborate here on the results because we are not doing a post hoc test, but we have some observations that we can point out about the data. But first I'm going to provide the standard reporting form. So we have X, the chi-square, we want the chi-square symbol. And then we want to put 5, which is a DF right here. 5, oops, 5, comma, the n size, which is 112. equals the chi-square value, which is 22.342, comma, p less than 0.001. And then let's make a couple of comments about the data here. So this, so we're looking for contrasts. So we may want to point out, a couple of things here. For instance, no, the highest, we could say something about the lowest and highest percentage of groups that have in fact been followed or watched by law enforcement. So we could say something like nearly half of Latinx respondents claim to have been followed by the police. Could say something like the different race, ethnic groups have disparate exposures to the police in regard to being watched. For instance, while nearly half, 44% of Latinx respondents reported being followed or watched. No Black or African American respondents, African American or Asian respondent claim to have a small percentage of white participants this was what less than 5% claim to have followed and watched by police. So I would leave it at that. Okay. So you can select any of the other variables. I try to avoid the precise relationship that I looked at because I just demonstrated it for you. So you should do something at least slightly different. At least use have a different variable for one of the variables or two. But both of them can be different, or at least one should be different. Okay, that's it.